We've got the Cowboys and the Vikings. Who are you starting?
I'm starting Kirk Cousins in this matchup. He is the QB 10 on the year, averaging over 21 or nearly 21 fantasy points per game. The Cowboys give up an average of 2 passing touchdowns per week, which is great for Cousins because he is top 20 fantasy points in every game he has thrown multiple touchdown passes this year. The Cowboys also allow the 3rd most passing yards per game at well over 300. So I think Kirk Cousins is a QB1 that is very much so in play this week.
I have a start as well, and it's Amari Cooper. And I know you're wondering, wait, doesn't that depend on Dak Prescott? I think if it's Cooper Rush, you can still feel confident in Amari Cooper. The Vikings' coverage numbers against wide receivers have been good this season in the top half of the league, but all of those numbers were accumulated with Patrick Peterson playing at cornerback. And so I think it translates to success for the wide receiver 1. Amari coming off the bye gives me belief, yes, even if it's Cooper Rush. Let's go to the Pats and the Chargers. MJD, give us an under-the-radar receiver in this game.
I'm going to tell you, you can start Jacoby Myers. He's the number 1 receiver there, and the Chargers secondary gives up a lot of yards to receivers at this point. They're banged up as well. I think Jacoby Myers is in play for a big week this week in LA. And this is the other thing. I think this is the week he gets his first touchdown in the National Football League. Yay. So, Mac Jones, you hear me talking. Throw him the rock, please.
I concur on that, too. That was my bold prediction this week, that Jacoby Myers would have his first NFL touchdown. Meanwhile, I like Brandon Bolden as a sleeper, not just because our producer Alex Wilk enjoys saying the name Brandon Bolden. He really has stepped in and has done a good job filling that James White role. He's averaging about 3.5 times as many fantasy points since White went down, 4 or more targets in 4 of the last 5 games, and if the game script goes sideways and we see the Chargers jump out to a lead, that just means potentially more opportunity for Bolden to go out and catch the football.
We've straight up seen the game itself go sideways in the NFC South between the Saints and the Buccaneers, a rivalry game. Brady's got to be a must-start. But what about Jameis, Kimmy?
Okay, Jameis is a must-start, too. Let's not sleep on him. I have been banging my drum so hard for Jameis Winston all season long, and it does not stop this week on Halloween. Y'all, this is a revenge game. The very first time that Jameis Winston is facing his former team. And last night during Thursday Night Football, I spoke to Malcolm Jenkins, and Malcolm Jenkins, a leader on that team. I said, all right, how are you guys actually feeling about Jameis? He goes, Jameis has been preparing all season long for this game. We believe in him. We know that we can get it done. So I'm not even going to riddle off the fantasy stats. I believe in him. I believe in Malcolm Jenkins. And I think Jameis Winston will win the game and win me a fantasy matchup this week.
I hope he gets him in the passing game get going because I am saying beware about Alvin Kamara and the Saints running game in this matchup. You're still starting Kamara in seasonal leagues, but I do not love him in daily. The Bucs have allowed the fewest rushing yards per game to running backs this year, and last season in 2 games, Kamara averaged just 28 rushing yards per game. So if you're starting him, you're hoping that the catches continue to go his way, and you're hoping that Mark Ingram doesn't steal the goal line work from him.
Looking forward to that matchup. Let's get into the AFC South. Titans visiting Indy, and I say beware of Carson Wentz. He's been right around 20 points for 3 consecutive weeks, and you might think it's a great streaming option. This Titans defense is just simply better than it was at the start of the season. They had that performance a week ago against Mahomes and the Chiefs. Yes, the season-long stats are going to tell you it's advantage wins, but I think if you look in the last 3 weeks, it says beware, be wary of the quarterback for the Colts.
Ooh. You may have me a little scared about my sleeper because I'm talking about Zach Pascal here. I'm saying he's a little bit of a sleeper, but maybe Carson Wentz just throws him a touchdown because he has 6 end zone targets this season. You see it right there on the screen. First 2 weeks of the season, he had 3 combined touchdowns. And the truth is that the Tennessee Titans, not so great against fantasy wideouts this season. They're allowing the most receptions, the most yards, and the most fantasy points to the position. So Zach Pascal, maybe?
I will
even if you
reference
don't like
our dear
Wentz?
friend Marcus Grant, who frequently reminds us, both things can be true. We're back on Fantasy Live with more Sunday Showdown, starting off with the Dolphins and Bills. Miami looked a lot more lively last week, MJD.
Yeah, a little bit lively, I guess. I'm going to say beware. I'm sorry. I'm working on this cat. I'm going to say beware of tight end Mike Gesicki. This is going against his Bills defense. I'm sorry. Listen, it's National Cat Day. Jamarcus is supposed to be coming in here. I got thrown off guard a little bit. But look, the Dolphins have been, Gesicki's been going and playing well, but all of a sudden you're playing this Bills defense. I am nervous about anyone or anybody that plays this Bills defense on the Dolphins offense.
Well, as a sleeper, I like Zach Moss, and it's a lot of this for me is sort of about the game script, right? Because you look at the Dolphins' run defense, 56% of the rush attempts they've seen, 44% of the rush yards, and 6 of the 8 rushing touchdowns they've given up have come in the third and fourth quarter, which means a lot of teams are just running the ball down their throats late in ball games trying to salt it away. Miami's given up a top 20 running back in 6 straight games, and Zach Moss has sort of taken over as the leader in that backfield. So if anybody's going to get that work late, it's probably going to be Moss.
Let's go to another divisional rivalry game, Pittsburgh and Cleveland next week. Dearness Johnson wowed us in Week 7, but Nick Chubb appears to be coming back. Should we start him again this week?
Yes. Yes, you could even get the sentence out. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am fully starting Dearness Johnson, and you should as well. That Week 7 performance, a career high, 146 yards, just shy of 25 fantasy points. Even if Nick Chubb is back into that lineup, guess who's not there? Kareem Hunt. He's still not there. So that means Dearness Johnson is picking up that workload. And the truth of the matter is, like we said earlier, Baker Mayfield, not 100%. The other thing here, the Cleveland Browns, they have the second most rushing attempts per game in the league. So Dearness Johnson should still be good to get plenty of work.
I'm rooting for him to score a touchdown because he said he has a new fisherman celebration, so I want to see that in action. But I think you could start Chase Claypool on the other side of this game. He's been getting a lot of volume as of late, especially with Juju out. He's averaged over 9 targets per game in the last month. And I know the last time we saw him, he disappointed us on national TV, but in the 2 games prior, he topped 18 fantasy points. The Browns have also allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to receivers since Week 4. I have him ranked as my wide receiver 23, and I'm excited to start him this week.
Let's go to the Rams and the Texans. Davis Mills will start again for Houston. Radio voice of the Los Angeles Rams, Maurice Jones-Drew. What do you think?
Well, must start here. Jamarcus Jones-Drew. He's like nervous now. Why are you being camera shy, Jamarcus? Let's talk about why they must start Darrell Henderson, Jamarcus. Let's talk about it. Okay, the Rams, they got shut down a little bit against Detroit, but guess what? Darrell Henderson, I expect him to go off on a big one, Jamarcus. I'm going to let you go do your thing. He's going to catch the ball. He gets the passes thrown to him, man. Yes, I am the voice of the Rams. I expect Darrell Henderson to have a huge rushing day. I expect the Rams to be up big and then lean on Darrell Henderson in the second half of the game.
I say also I have a start, and that start is other than Jamarcus. It's the Rams. It's the Rams defense, all 11 of them, and however many of them play special teams. They've had at least 2 sacks and 2 picks in every one of the last 3 games. None of those games have been against Davis Mills and the Houston Texans. A couple days after they send Mark Ingram back to the Saints, and Brandon Cook is lamenting the deal on Twitter. Yeah, if Jamarcus was playing for the Rams defense, I would say start all of the Rams, especially the ones on defense against the Houston Texans. To that game, MJD, do you have a must start?
Yeah, all the Bengals. Everybody. If the Patriots can score 54 points, what do you think Cincinnati will do? And I get it, the Jets are an NFL team, but they're banged up, they're injured, they have a lot of guys on IR. You have some undrafted guys starting in the secondary. To me, start all the Bengals if you can. I don't know if people have been hinting to that this whole time. Like, this is the game. If you saw my make a day of it, it was all the Bengals. I should have started the whole Bengals lineup that week.
Yeah, MJD, we were on the same exact page, and I say, despite Corey Davis being questionable for the game, despite the game scripts saying that the Jets are going to need to throw a whole bunch, I think you sit Elijah Moore. He did have the touchdown last week, and maybe you thought, yes, this is the start of something great. I don't think good things are going to happen for the Jets against the Bengals at all, and JD seems to agree. I think we're all on this bad circumstances for the Jets. Let's get to the 49ers and the Bears. Kimmy, who stands out here?
Well, I have an Elijah that I like.
Okay.
I like to start Elijah Mitchell versus the Bears this week. I was surprised because he's still available in about 50% of NFL.com leagues. He was my waiver wire pickup this week. Why? Because he's had 18-plus touches in 3 or 4 games played. So, yes, why is he not more picked up? Start him against the Bears.
Yeah, must start for me is Khalil Herbert. We saw what Jonathan Taylor was able to do on Sunday Night Football. Was it Sunday night or Monday night? I don't even remember. But it was a raining mess. And the Niners couldn't stop the run. So to me, Khalil Herbert's come in. He's been a great addition, a great find here for the Bears. They should run the heck out of the ball. I like him this week.
Both of those games, rainy slosh fest on Monday or Sunday. Doesn't matter. Let's get the football team at Denver. Give me another sleeper, Florio.
I think Ricky Seals-Jones is a sleeper tight end this week. He has played every snap but one the last 3 weeks with at least 6 targets in each game. He has scored between 9 and 16 fantasy points in all 3. Washington is banged up at wide receiver, so even in a tough matchup, I think they're going to have to get RSJ the ball. I think he is a tight end 1 until Logan Thomas returns.
I have been on the RSJ bandwagon ever since I lost Logan Thomas in a couple of leagues. Worked out pretty well. I'm also going to tell you to start Jerry Jeudy. Now, I know he did not practice on Friday. He has not officially been activated off injured reserve, but it's sort of a reminder that he is ready to come back. The Broncos are hinting that he should be ready to go. Hasn't played since week 1, but I expect him to be the top target. I talked about Bridgewater as a sleeper. A lot of it's going to be because he's got Jerry Jeudy back to get the football to.
Let's talk about the Panthers and the Falcons. Kimmy, are you still a believer in Sam Darnold?
I still am. I don't want to get tricked. I want to have a treat from you, Sam Darnold, against the Falcons. Now, I'm mostly picking on the matchup here, though I do actually believe in Sam Darnold as well. The Falcons are allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. They've also allowed a top 5 QB in 4 of the last 6 games. So maybe just rush in the end zone again.
Kimmy, you know I love you, but I'm going to have to disagree.
No!
I got to sit on Sam Darnold. And look, you know I want to stand for him as much as anybody, but he's just been awful for the last month. 7 interceptions in the last 4 games, 15 or fewer points in 3 straight games, single digits in 2 of 3. The matchup's great. I'm just scared at this point because he's playing so poorly.
Fight off. Mad at you.
Marcus is all out. He's all out of Stan. He's driving across the bridge right now. Jags, Seahawks. Got to turn to the former Jag for this one, Maurice. What are we doing?
Start Marvin Jones Jr. And real quick, let me say this. Kimmy, I can't believe that you act like Sam Darnold's that good. But this guy that I'm going to talk about, he's been phenomenal. Okay, anytime that Trevor Lawrence gets in trouble or wants to throw down the field, Marvin Jones has been the guy. He's been their number 1 target since week 1. I think if you got him, he's a great flex play and also a top wide receiver number 2.
All right, let's stick here. Don't call me stupid for this one because I think Laviska Shenault Jr. is a sleeper since you're talking about Marvin Jones. He's still available in about 65% of NFL.com leagues, double-digit fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games, plus a good matchup against the Seahawks.
Last but not least, the Eagles and the Lions, and I say start Devontae Smith against the Lions. Darnell Mooney, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase. Everybody's gone off against the Lions. The only one of that group that didn't go off over 100 yards was Chase, and he had 97. You've been waiting for the big Devontae game this season. The Lions will provide.
I hope so. I also think Boston Scott is a sleeper in this matchup. He had more carries last week than Kenny Gainwell did. He also had 3 touches inside the 10-yard line compared to Gainwell's 1. So as long as the ghost of Jordan Howard isn't coming and vulturing those goal line carries, I think Boston Scott is a sleeper as he could score a touchdown against the Lions.
Sleeper, Boston Scott. I've got to start on Devontae Smith. There's some disagreement on the set between Kimmy and Marcus with regards to Sam Darnold. MJD is too biased. The USC hate flows from every pore on his body.